Well, it turns out that Jordan Matthews was wrong. It may be a new team and a new year, but Sunday was a continuation of what we saw last Sunday and what we've become accustomed to since David Tepper bought the team. We'll break it all down right here on Locked On Panthers.
You are Locked On Panthers, your daily Carolina Panthers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, the part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Julian Council, talking Carolina Panthers with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Your team every day. That's our motto here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Subscribe or follow the show for free on YouTube, where I am live right now and live following every Carolina Panthers game, or anytime there's live breaking news. You can follow the show there, or you can check me out wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, where, of course, every single episode, whether it's a live edition or recorded episodes, right there in your feeds, and of course over on YouTube. Today's episode of Locked On Panthers is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. And be sure to follow me, Julian Council, on Twitter at Julian Council, where on Wednesdays throughout the rest of the regular season, I'll be answering your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions. All you got to do is either at me or DM me over on Twitter at Julian Council to get those questions into me right now. The Carolina Panthers 3, the Los Angeles Chargers 26. Much of the same we saw last week carried over to this week in the home opening loss to the Chargers for your Carolina Panthers. And the leading story this week is the same one we had last week. The play of Bryce Young, as he was terrible. He was terrible last week, throwing an interception on the very first play, and he was just as bad this week. Only completing 18 of 26 passes for 84 yards, 3.2 yards per attempt, by the way. One interception, sacked 2 times, and a 57.2 passer rating, which is actually an improvement from last week, where he had a passer rating that was below what Andy Dalton had, and Andy Dalton did not complete a single pass in that loss to the Chargers. And I don't really know what to tell y'all that I didn't tell y'all last week about the situation here in Carolina with Bryce. I agree. He was bad. I'm not going to sit here and defend the way he played today. And we saw from the play calling, as I asked Dave Canales, come out here, run the football. And we're going to get to that aspect, is Chuba Hubbard getting 10 carries and averaging 6.4 yards per carry. Makes no sense to me how he only had 10 carries. We'll get to that later on in the show. Let's focus here on Bryce to open up things. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to argue about how Bryce Young played. Like, the game plan clearly was try to run the football and to give Bryce some easy throws. The majority of the throws that you saw were out to the outside, to the flat, that were short. They weren't trying to throw the ball down the field. Only times you ever really saw Bryce Young throw it over the middle was on the opening drive, where Tommy Tremble, who was active today, started for the Panthers at tight end. He was open, nice anticipatory throw across the middle to Tommy Tremble, pass breakup. Great play by Kristen Fulton. Good throw, good route. Just the defense played better on that route. Later on in the second quarter, after the Panthers finally got a first down on their 5th drive of the game, a 12-yard run by Chuba Hubbard, who's yelling to the sideline saying, "Feed me." They drop back with Bryce, looks over the middle. There's a corner right there in front of Deontay Johnson, a safety over the top of Deontay Johnson, and doesn't matter. Bryce throws it, and it gets picked off. And even if the safety's not there behind him, I don't see how that ball is ever going to be completed. But for the most part, all we saw were throws out to the flat, probably meaning that Dave Canales does not have a lot of confidence in his quarterback's ability to throw the ball even to the intermediate parts of the field. We're not even talking about throwing a deep ball, because we didn't see any of those today. We're not even seeing him throw the ball 10, 15 yards down the field. Everything is short and to the flat. And the Panthers got a problem if that's all they feel like they can do with Bryce Young after, I get, only 2 weeks. But these have been 2 brutal weeks for Bryce and for this offense, and mainly for Bryce. It's not like the receivers, and I guess we'll go back and look at how open they were. And there was a situation in this game where Jay Felix saying, "Oh, well, that's on the secondary. They did a great job. That's why Bryce had nowhere to throw the ball." But then we see Adam Thielen wide open. And I don't know what progression that was for Bryce Young to be able to see that, but Bryce Young had time. Then the pocket collapsed. He got to the left, and he got sacked. And then you see Adam Thielen on the broadcast take his helmet off, doesn't throw it to the ground. Too much of a professional to do that. Not meaning it's not you're unprofessional if you do, but Adam Thielen, a guy that you just would not expect to see that emotional, look frustrated. And that wasn't the only time he looked frustrated in this game today. And we know that Deontay Johnson in the past in Pittsburgh, when he had Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky and then Mason Rudolph last season, he's a guy who's gotten frustrated and they've questioned his commitment to the team. And he's come out and flat out criticized his quarterback. And I have no problem with guys doing that. They work too hard, poured too much blood, sweat, and tears in this game to come out here on Sunday and to play like that and not even get an opportunity to show who they are. Like, this is a contract year for Deontay Johnson. He's got to decide whether he wants to be in Carolina, where they want him, and also what's his next move and if he's going to get paid, because it's probably his last time to get paid big-time money in the NFL. So I wonder, is that a ticking time bomb? Because if Thielen's already upset, how do you think everyone else feels right now through 2 weeks? And I'm not telling you that they're giving up already on the quarterback. I don't think that that's happened. It's possible to go home and they'll talk to their loved ones and say, I don't think Bryce has got it. I think we're in trouble here. They may say that, but they're not going to say that publicly. And I don't know necessarily they feel that way 2 weeks after they voted the man captain. And yeah, he's a starting quarterback. And in the NFL, typically, if you're the starting quarterback, you're going to be the captain, whether you are truly a leader on that team or not. But by all accounts, everyone in that locker room loves Bryce Young, the person. That does not mean that they believe in Bryce Young, the quarterback. And after 2 weeks, it'd be really hard to get mad at anyone for not believing in Bryce Young, the quarterback, whether you're someone who's in the locker room there, someone who's in the front office, or you, the fan, watching or listening to the show right now. I totally understand. I'll say it again, though. I just don't think after they fired Scott Fitterer, moved on from Frank Reich after 11 games, went down the hallway, gave Dan Morgan a GM job, brought in Brant Tillis to hand out contracts and control the cap, brought in Dave Canales, went out there and traded for Deontay Johnson, brought in Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis for a bunch of money, traded up to get Xavier Legette, brought in John. I just don't think they did all of that after 2 weeks to bench Bryce Young for Andy Dalton. I don't think they did that. Now, just because they didn't intend to do it doesn't mean that they won't. But apparently they're not, because Dave Canales came out. He was asked twice about Bryce Young and what they're going to do. And he said, Bryce is our quarterback. Pretty emphatically, Bryce is our quarterback. Plenty of times you see coaches say, we're going to review the tape and we're going to evaluate everybody. No, he said, Bryce Young is our quarterback, because he knows his job is coming here and to, 1, fix Bryce Young, 2, fix the offense. Through 2 weeks, Bryce Young looks broken beyond repair. And the offense is just as bad as we saw it in the past, where they can't even get 100 yards in the first half. It's a problem for Bryce, for Dave, for Dan, for Tepper, for you, for me, for everyone involved here in Carolina, and anyone who has any lick of care about this team across the world. It's not a good situation. Bringing in Andy Dalton's not going to solve anything. The defense is terrible, and we're going to talk about how it's everything about when you look at how this team's performed the first 2 weeks in a few minutes. But like, Dalton's not the answer. He's not. He could be here next year as a backup, but he's not in this team's future plans. And you could right now say about Bryce Young, he's not in their future plans, but he is at least under contract for the next 2 seasons. They have a big time decision to make next year after the season about the 5th-year option. And looking at how things are trending, they're not going to have a decision to make next year. They're going to have a decision to make in a couple of weeks, or really after the season. And Jay Feely said the hope is that you just keep playing him and he gets better. And at this point in time, based off of what Dave Canales said, all the moves that they've made, they're going to keep playing Bryce, and they're going to hope he gets better. They're going to try to put him in better situations. And you can argue they did that this week, but they're going to try to do everything they can to get Bryce Young to play the best football he's capable of playing. And if they're not able to do that, then yeah, like, they'll have to move on. And I've talked about Zach Wilson a couple years ago in New York. That Jets team was in the thick of the AFC playoff hunt. This Panthers team, with the offense, with the quarterback playing as bad as he's playing, with the defense unable to stop anybody, and special teams having a bunch of boneheaded penalties, this team's not going to be sitting in that same position the Jets were during week 11 2 years ago. They're not going to be in it to even sit here and be like, well, the quarterback's holding him back. It's very possible that the quarterback's holding back the offense from having any sort of success, but he's not holding back the team overall from having any sort of success so far through 2 weeks. He has not been good, but a lot of it's been bad, and that's not me sitting here defending Bryce Young. That's just pointing out the clear, obvious about the situation here, the reality of the situation here in Carolina. So Dave said he's still their quarterback. Whether you agree with that or not, that's what's going to happen and how it's going to be next week and probably the week after that and the week after that until they get to a point where it's possibly to a point where it's just like for the best for the locker room. Even if you're not going to win any games and you're not going to be in a playoff contention, you just got to one day just say, we can't keep putting him out there for his own mental health, as he's somebody who already dealt with it last year. And I didn't even watch his press conference because I'm sure it was the same morbid scene we've seen from him last year after every single loss. So I'm not even going to bother to put myself through that watching him because that's just hard to watch because he's likable. Everything about him. People say, good guy. Just, I don't want to watch him in that state. That's where we are. Bryce Young's played bad. Canales said they're sticking with him, and you're just going to have to accept that, even if you don't want to. And I totally understand why you wouldn't want to, and you're certainly justified to feel that way, because today was exactly what we saw last week and what we saw in large portions of last season. And bringing in Canales, bringing in new offensive line, all that has not seemed to help Bryce Young through 2 weeks. 18 for 26, 84 yards, an interception, 57.2 passer rating. And yes, he did run for 6 yards on 1 carry today, if you are caring about that stat when it comes to Bryce Young. So Bryce, still the quarterback, definitely not looking like the answer long-term in Carolina. We'll continue to evaluate the situation, even if you feel like there's nothing to evaluate after last year and these first 2 weeks of the 2024 season, where the Panthers are 0-2, following 26-3 at home in their opener against the Los Angeles Chargers. I said it's not just Bryce, it's everything. We'll look at everything else that went wrong for the Panthers on Sunday here in just a moment on Locked on Panthers. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. And got a really great deal for y'all right now. All you need is 1 Caleb Williams passing yard, get you 1 win on PrizePicks every week. So you just got to win 3 more times. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on PrizePicks because it's gone when September ends. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive a $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Football is finally back, which means it's time to order your favorite game day food, snacks, and drinks on DoorDash without missing a play. My ultimate game day spread is pretty simple. Love to get me a big pizza, get some wings, some chips, and then once I'm done sitting here talking to y'all on Sunday, got to go grab a beer because the Panthers lead me to drink. Use promo code LOCKEDFALL24 for 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 plus on your first order. Limited time offer. Terms apply. Promo is not valid for orders containing alcohol. DoorDash, your door to game day greatness, your door to more. Download the DoorDash app now to order your game day favorites. Must be 21 and over to order alcohol. Drink responsibly. Alcohol available only in select markets. So the Carolina Panthers have fallen 0-2 yet again as they lose 26-3 at home to Jim Harbaugh and the Packers. And I've talked about just looking at Houston and wondering that's what you could have had when you look at C.J. Stroud. Panthers had a chance to take him #1 overall. They had a chance to interview D'Amico Ryans, but David Tepper clearly was not interested in hiring a defensive coach. Now, if he wanted a defensive coach, he already had one in Steve Wilks. And we're seeing that the ghost of Steve Wilks, who it's not like he's in the league right now. Last time I checked, he's an analyst over for Biff Poggi's staff at Charlotte, and the 49ers are god-awful, so they are going with the trend of bad football teams here in the city of Charlotte. He's over there, just chilling, back home in Charlotte after spending 1 year with 49ers, and I guess had a falling out with Kyle Shanahan. Don't really know what all happened there, but he's just hanging out, and could be the head coach in Carolina. They could have an identity, but right now they clearly don't have a quarterback after 2 weeks. Don't seem to have an identity. and just can't seem to do anything right. Bryce is terrible. But y'all, I knew from the opening kickoff that this team was cooked. Remember last week, Jordan Matthews was telling us that it's not a continuation. It's a new team. It's a new year. None of that from the past is carrying over this year. Didn't feel like that when Felipe Franks came out on the opening kickoff and was flagged for a obvious face mask penalty. And what did he do? Man hit the gritty. He was out here celebrating after having a personal foul on the opening kickoff. You cut him tomorrow. I don't want to sit here and come after people's jobs, but you can't have that kind of stuff, man. Opening the game, that kind of boneheaded play, and then to celebrate to boot, like that is Carolina Panthers football under David Tepper, and certainly after 2 weeks under Dave Canales. That's kind of stuff you come to expect. They're undisciplined. They were undisciplined last year, and they're so far through 2 weeks undisciplined this year. 9 penalties for 90 yards. We saw them on offense. We saw them on defense. We also saw them on special teams. Open a game with that penalty that we saw on Sunday. Then they had a kick-catching interference on a punt. And J.J. Jansen's coming up being like, oh, well, he pushed him in the back. J.J., there were 5 Panthers. There's 1 Charger there to return the kick, and there's a guy who's like barely in the frame on L.A. There was no one pushing any of them back. It's just your teammate not having any common sense and football awareness and smarts to not make a stupid decision. And then they had a legal formation on a kickoff. And it doesn't even matter that they changed the rules because the way the guy moved, that's a penalty last year too with the traditional kickoff. So you can't even avoid dumb penalties on special teams, on offense and on defense. So the quarterback's not good, but also you're an undisciplined football team, 9 penalties, 90 yards. And it was until the last drive for the Chargers where they had 1 penalty, 5 yards. Jim Harbaugh coach team, Dave Canales coach team. So far from what I've seen. And I already know with Harbaugh, they're going to run the football, which they did today, for how many yards they ran the ball? 219 on 44 carries, 5 yards per carry. So they carry the ball twice the first down, y'all. If you can do math, I think we all can for the most part. I know some of you may struggle. 1 touchdown, 44 carries, 219 yards, 5 yards per carry, touchdown. And Dave Canales came out there after the game and sat there with a straight face and said, I felt like they defended a run well today. You have to be the worst run defense in the league after 2 weeks, whether it's just total yardage or if it's just looking at the advanced stats. They have to have the worst run defense in the league already, and Derek Brown's not even around for the rest of the year. 180 last week with him, 219 this week without him. J.K. Dobbins had 100 yards rushing in the 87, I think, in the first half. 17 carries, 131 yards. Gus Edwards, 18 for 59. And yes, there's a 43-yard rush by J.K. Dobbins, but still, he probably would have still had 5 yards per carry on average with the other 16 carries he had in this game. It's just embarrassing that they can't stop anything on defense. The pressure, I feel like they got better pressure today. DJ Johnson, looking at this, combined with Jaden Peavy for a half a sack on that fumble, and Herbert did not even play well. His numbers turned out to be 14 of 20, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception, had 100 passer rating, but his two turnovers were stupid. The interception that J.C. Horn had, why throw that ball? Then the fumble, he's trying to throw it away, but he's trying to throw it to a teammate, as my mouse gets thrown over here, trying to throw it to a teammate, and it's just why try to make those decisions? Herbert was not good, and it didn't matter because the Panthers couldn't stop him on the ground. And Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh did exactly what they wanted to do and probably exactly what they saw on film. Oh, that team, they can't stop the run. They're not physical enough up front. And Derek Brown's gone. Oh, yeah, we're good. We're not worried about it because Shai Tuttle, people have been moving him since after his rookie year in New Orleans. Robinson, good player, but we're not worried about him. Oh, Thurman, Ray, Peavy. Yeah, that's going to be easy money right there. And it was 219 yards on the ground. Can't win football. You can talk about the quarterback all you want. Talk about the receivers. Talk about safeties. Talk about corners. If you can't win up front, you got no chance. And they can't win up front on defense. Couldn't do it last year. Can't do it this year. Can't win games like that. Don't see how they're going to win any games. They're going to keep giving up 180, 200 yards on the ground. Last year, to start the season, it was at least 130. This year, it's at least 180 through 2 games. They're giving up over 200 yards of rushing per game through 2 weeks. It's embarrassing, man. It truly is. I think maybe it's actually 199 and a half. That might be what it is. 180 plus 219. So yeah, I think it's like right there. Maybe it's like whatever. It's like right there at 200 almost. So that's a problem. Like offensively, the quarterback, obviously Bryce has not played well. Like they were 1 for 10 on third down last week. Looking at the stats today, and I was tracking again because early on they weren't converting third downs. Like this can be something I'm going to talk about yet again on the podcast. 1 for 12. Tommy Tremble pass breakup, 3rd and 2. And it's not like last week there was a lot of 3rd and longs. They had a 3rd and 2, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 2. And they only converted one of those 3rd and 2s. The first one, just a good play by Christian Fulton. That's the cornerback to open up the game. The other one was a false start on JT Sanders. The second week in a row, they've had a 3rd and short. Last week, 3rd and 1, he has a holding penalty that brings it back. And then there's a sack on the next play. Then today, 3rd and 2, false start. 3rd and 7, they throw it short out to JT Sanders, and they're not even close to converting. The other 3rd and 2, he missed Adam Thielen on a quick throw. And honestly, if he puts that on Adam Thielen, Thielen is in the hospital. He's at Atrium, he's at Novant, he's somewhere. They might even take him out to Caramount out there in Gastonia to get him fixed because he was going to be messed up had he actually caught that ball and taken that hit. And then they finally converted with Miles Sanders rushing for 5 yards when the game was already over. It's bad, man. And you got a 3rd down and 6 where they throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage to the flat to Miles Sanders. Xavier Legette misses his block on that one. You got a short pass, Miles Sanders, where they're not even trying to convert it. Incomplete to Deontay Johnson. I would think it was open on that. Sacked by Joey Bosa. Complete to Tommy Tremble on a 3rd and 9, but short by 2 yards. Always throwing short of the sticks. It's bad. It's just, so you go 1 for 12 on 3rd down. Chuba Hubbard averages 6.4 yards per carry. He touched the ball 10 times on the ground. 10 times. They ran the ball 11 times with Chuba and Miles. They ran it 17 times today. Stubborn about running the football, Dave Canales told us. And they've ran it 28 times through 2 weeks with their running back. Not in one game, through 2 weeks. They ran the ball 28 times with their running backs. It's embarrassing, man. 0 for 5 on 3rd down in the first half. The Chargers were 5 of 7 on 3rd down in the first half. And 3 of those conversions were touchdowns. 1 where Quentin Johnson beat J.C. Horn. Decent coverage by J.C. anyway. So, I mean, that was pretty good coverage. Just not even a great throw. Johnson just made a play. Then there's another one where they ran it in. Another where Johnson was just wide open on a coverage bust there on 3rd and goal. Panthers can't convert on 3rd down. Chargers are scoring touchdowns. Chunk plays. One of them was the J.K. Dobbins run. The other was the Johnson, and then Johnson wide open. So you can't even convert on 3rd down, but they're hitting chunk plays and scoring touchdowns. It's bad, man. It is tough. So Bryce is bad, but the defense is terrible. Special teams not good. They're undisciplined. Can't convert on 3rd down. Don't even try to convert on 3rd down based off the play calling and at least where the quarterback goes with the ball. Everything is bad here through 2 weeks in Carolina. That's on the players, it's on the coaches. Don't really know who you can really absolve of the blame. Because unlike what Jordan Matthews told us, it's a continuation of what we see in the past, Jordan. You may not have been here, but we've been here, and we'll be here after you're gone and after the rest of these guys who can't win games aren't going to be here in Carolina because this is tough, man. All right, take another quick pause, come back, and we'll wrap up more of what I got to say here on the show, as it was another embarrassing day. The Panthers losing 26-3 against the Los Angeles Chargers on Sunday in their home opener, falling to 0-2 on the season. Be right back with you in just a moment on Locked On Panthers. Football season is back, and the best way to get to games this fall is with Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And I imagine today you got really good deals. If you want to go to the Panthers game, my dad called me, said he was going to the game, and I just asked him why. Game Time Picks curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. One of my favorite features that Game Time has. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. And based off of how the Panthers are playing, $20 off your first purchase is going to be like free tickets for like 5 straight weeks. Terms apply again. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON NFL. It's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Shout out to the 325 people live with me right now on YouTube. I saw like 363 a moment ago. So really do appreciate all y'all coming in here, hanging out with me on these Sundays. I think last week, I had like 13,000 views, which is like the most viewed episode I've ever had on YouTube. So really do appreciate y'all coming up here and talking to me. I know like live when I'm doing this, I kind of got a rundown here, so I don't really get to the chat. I go back and look at it afterwards. So apologies there. I've been trying to put up more like community posts, kind of interact more with y'all. As just like, I mean, dude, the team's bad. Y'all are beyond frustrated. I'm just not going to go through the chat and read all your frustrations because it's like, I got to get away from this at some point in time. So I do appreciate everyone who comes in and watches the show and listens to the show. So I want that to be known that I do appreciate you. I'm just not spending a lot of my free time reading about how miserable you are about the team. And I went to upstairs during halftime. Tell my girlfriend, like, yeah, it's 20-0. They're getting their ass kicked. It's embarrassing. And I got people DMing me, like, as if like I'm their therapist. I guess I kind of gotta be, not to like sound self-involved. Like I'm not that important, but like I have my group chat. I'm talking to people and like, everyone's just commenting on the game because I saw it was Alex Zeitlo, my boy over there at the Charlotte Observer, we'll have on the show. Like Zeitlo went out there at halftime and he asked, curious your thoughts, Panther fans. And one of my friends like sent me that tweet. It's like, why are you curious? And I told my friends like, well, I don't really want to hear anyone's thoughts right now because I know everyone's upset, but yet they keep DMing me at Julian Council their thoughts. I don't know what to tell people because like, hey, how long do we keep Bryce? I don't know, y'all, because the coach is not going to get rid of him right now. And he spent a lot of assets, obviously, to get him and a lot of assets this offseason to help him. And I don't think they're bailing after 2 weeks. Oh, man, it's tough. And Dave Canales came out and said, another frustrating day. And you can see the thumbnail to this YouTube video. It's yet another frustrating day for the Panthers. And he came out and also kind of said this to close out things on Sunday after the game. He said, quote, I expected us to take time to become us, to figure out the things that we do well. I don't like to set expectations. I like to gather information. And he said that last week, that he knew it was going to take some time for them to become us. I don't know how long that's going to be. Is it going to be anytime this season? Is it going to be in 2025 if he's still here? Is it going to be in like, when's that going to happen? When are you guys going to figure out who you are? Is it Bryce Young going to be a part of that? Is it Adam? So I don't want to set expectations, that's what he said. And they spent all offseason really just not trying to get people charged up. We've seen in the past they've taken a different approach. They didn't do a lot. Like during free agency, they weren't really putting out all those videos and whatnot. They eventually did do the blueprint and all of that. And they did a training camp confidential. They did that shoulder program they've done in the past. But they didn't put out a ton of things they've done. And then even this week, like they put out the Jordan Matthews video. I bet they regret doing that because I imagine the responses to that weren't great. And of course, I've used that as ammunition here on the show because it has been a continuation. New team, new year, same results. That's what it's been for the Carolina Panthers through 2 weeks. And Canales doesn't seem to be, he's frustrated, but does not seem to be pressed about his longevity here in Carolina. And I do Bleacher Report before this. And like for people who, I love everyone coming up here and watching. And if you watch on Bleacher Report, thank you. I typically look at the chat then and I have people asking me during that feed, just when is Dave Canales potentially in trouble? Like if you go 0-17, I think it's kind of a hard to keep him around, obviously. And the fact that like, number one, they brought him in to work with Bryce and Bryce has looked terrible through 2 weeks. They brought him also to fix the offense and they haven't really stuck to the whole idea of being stubborn about running the football. So it's hard to even absolve him of any blame. And then as the head coach, your team's undisciplined with the 9 penalties and then they turn the ball over. Things we saw last week as well. So I don't know. It would be difficult for them. I know it's way too early. Like last week was way too early to talk about benching Bryce Young. It's still way too early to do that this week. And it's way too early to talk about Dave Canales getting fired. I just think there's logistically, like, it wasn't like they had a great pool anyways. Brian Callahan is someone who they wanted, and the Titans hired him up before he could even come to Carolina. And Canales, no one else interviewed him. And right then and there, that pretty much told you how desirable this job was. Like, if you're moving on from Canales, you're moving on from Bryce. I got to imagine you got to move on from Dan Morgan, right? Are you going to let Dan Morgan bring in another friend to be the head coach? I have a hard time believing that. So it's going to be like a clean house kind of situation. And if they have the number one pick again this year, which it's trending that way, it makes it attractive. But yeah, as a coach, you got to wonder who's, I mean, like, can I deal with the owner? And if they have another general manager search, can I deal with the owner? It's not attractive. So this has got to be for the betterment of this organization, even if it's just going to be a lot of short-term suffering. And David Tepper told us way back in 2019 when he fired Ron Rivera, I guess it was technically January 2020 before the world fell apart, that would you take short-term suffering for long-term success? We're going through that short-term suffering right now, and I just don't know when the long-term success is coming. I just don't even see the pathway to that at this point in time. Had he gotten Stroud, well, I guess that would have been it. Still question what he was going to do behind that offensive line and with those receivers last year, but still, he's clearly a dude, and the Texans got it figured out. Oh, it's tough. It's not a good situation to be in, and I'm already exhausted. It's only been 2 weeks because every game is going to be a referendum on Bryce Young, and I come up here and I talk about kind of like what I want to talk about, and I say what I want to say, but I also understand like there's things that you guys are coming here to want me to discuss and want to hear, and I got to think about the audience, and the audience is discussing Bryce Young. Like, all the questions I'm getting are about Bryce Young, so yeah, I'm going to talk about Bryce Young. The first 2 weeks have not been encouraging at all. Have I abandoned ship and think that he's never going to be any good? No, I'm not there yet. I mean, I may be there pretty soon if this keeps looking like this, but I'm still going to hold out hope. And I'm still looking at last season where, yeah, he was not good, but everything around him was bad. And I think this year the offensive line has played well so far. They were able to run the ball today, even though they weren't dedicated enough to running it. And I couldn't really see whether the receivers were open or not. I can go back and look at the next gen stats and all the separation numbers, but I don't know if I can really put it on them. It wasn't like they even tried to throw the ball down the field anyways, based off of just what the game plan appeared to be. So, no, I'm not out yet. I certainly am concerned, like I was last week, and I'll continue to be throughout the week, and I'll be continuing to be until he shows us something that's competent. Like, play like he did against Atlanta last year in the driving rain. Play like he did against Houston. Like, I don't even need him necessarily to play like he did against the Packers, which is what they really need. But through 2 weeks, woof. This is not good. Someone asked me about the vibes. The vibes are off, man. They are bad. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network, hosted by yours truly, Julian Council. Again, y'all subscribe, follow the show for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And be sure to follow me, Julian Council, on Twitter at Julian Council, where on Wednesday, I'm back answering your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions. All you got to do is either at me or DM me over on Twitter at Julian Council to get those questions in. Also, please follow me on Twitter at Julian Council. Not required to be able to put in a question. Just DM me, get those questions in. But in the meantime, be safe, try to be happy, be whole, and as always, keep pounding. And I'll talk to you on Tuesday as we'll continue to break down the Panthers' 0-2 start and where they go from here.